Which choice describes how to correct a punctuation error in the passage? A. Remove the comma after the word evacuation in sentence 1. B. Add a comma after the word people in sentence 2. C. Remove the comma after the word radiation in sentence 4. Or D. Change the comma after the word children in sentence 5 to a colon. Let's go through our choices, implement the changes they're suggesting, and see if they're appropriate. A. Remove the comma after the word evacuation in sentence 1. The 1986 reactor explosion at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant forced a region-wide evacuation, sending radioactive fallout billowing across Europe. The comma after the word evacuation is necessary here. The first half of the sentence is an independent clause, a clause that could stand as a proper sentence on its own. The second half of the sentence, sending radioactive fallout billowing across Europe, however, is not a complete sentence. It is a dependent clause, as it lacks a subject. It merely supplies more background detail to what the first clause outlined. As the comma clarifies the relationship between these two clauses, English grammar rules state it must be there. As such, this choice can be marked as incorrect. B. Add a comma after the word people in sentence 2. While the explosion itself killed 31 people, millions were exposed to dangerous radiation levels, and estimates of the final death toll from long-term health problems are as high as 200,000. In this sentence, we actually see the reverse of what we saw in sentence 1. In this sentence, the second half of the sentence is an independent clause, and can stand on its own. Millions were exposed to dangerous radiation levels, etc. The first half is a dependent clause. While the explosion itself killed 31 people is not a complete sentence. It merely enforces what we're going to be told in the next clause. As such, to add a comma after people would be correct, as we need to separate the dependent and independent clause for clarity. As this would be an appropriate correction to make, this is likely our final answer, but we can take a look at the other choices just to be sure. C. Remove the comma after the word radiation in sentence 4. At least one parent had been exposed to gonadal radiation, having worked as radiation cleanup workers or been evacuees from contaminated areas. Again, here we have an independent clause, at least one parent had been exposed to gonadal radiation, connected to a dependent clause, having worked as radiation cleanup workers, etc., which adds more information to the independent clause that it follows. As such, the comma here is necessary as it separates these two clauses, and this choice can be marked as incorrect. And D. Change the comma after the word children in sentence 5 to a colon. The team, led by Meredith Yeager, screened the genomes of the children born between 1987 and 2002 and who were conceiving after the accident. The clause born between 1987 and 2002 here describes the children mentioned beforehand, and a comma is an appropriate way to set off this extra information. As a colon is usually used to introduce a list, which we don't see as the case here, we can mark this choice as incorrect and mark our original answer of choice B as our final answer.